Well, hello, my name is Steven Zimmer, and I'm proud to be one of the Seventh Star Press authors. And today I'm going to be talking about the challenges of writing a true cross-genre series. And with my work, of course, that's the Rising Dawn Saga, which currently has 4 of the projected 7 titles out, beginning with the Exodus Gate, Storm Guardians, the Seventh Throne, and the latest one, The Undying Light. And it's an ensemble cast, epic scale kind of storyline. And so, if you're a reader of people like George R.R. Martin, it kind of has that flavor where it follows a number of different story threads. Admittedly, it's not a light read. It's got a lot of depth and complexity to it, so it's not the thing that you kind of read fast. It's actually the kind of read that you sink your teeth into. And with it, I have the broadest palette possible to work the canvas with, because in cross-genre, you can draw from almost any element to tell your story. You're not limited to conventions. You can work with fantasy, you can work with horror, you can work with science fiction, military thrillers, mystery, dystopian elements, post-apocalyptic, apocalyptic elements. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And telling a cohesive story with that many options to kind of draw from is a lot of fun, but I think you also have to have a very good vision of where the project is going, and definitely a good endpoint in mind, a good goal or destination when you set out to do something like that. And so, I've drawn off of mythological elements from to the point and published as far as what's published in the series so far. You see stuff from Egyptian mythology, from Japanese mythology, Sumerian Babylonian mythology, even Russian mythology, and weaves together with all kinds of different religious traditions. Of course, it works into a lot of things with futurists and projections about technology. Deals a lot with a lot of things with just what's happening in the world today. And I think it's one of the most fascinating things about it is that the storyline actually is converging quite a bit with a lot of trends that are happening in the world. Even though I originally began this in the 1990s, but now it's I think people revisit this series. I think they're going to be a lot of eye openers with the overall course. And of course, things aren't exactly when you do things with fantastical imagery, you use a lot of symbolism and you represent things using mythical imagery or fantasy imagery. And so it's a great tool for exploring a lot of different things, and it also explores parallel worlds because without giving too much away, the Rising Dawn Saga, it does take place in a parallel world that's very similar to ours, but it's not ours exactly. But we had a few questions come in, and so I wanted to address a few things about this particular series, and fire away.
All right. What influenced you to write this from your own world?
What influenced me to write this is actually, it kind of came together because I just have a very passionate interest in history, religions, technology, a lot of different things. And being a student of history, you see a lot of patterns, and I was giving a lot of thought to that. And at the same time, I was fascinated with shows like Coast to Coast AM, the radio show, where they had so many diverse topics covered in one show. And I thought, boy, it'd be fun to have a series that has that kind of range, where you have the shadow government conspiracy elements, where you have the mythological creatures and supernatural elements, where you have all kinds of different things all taking place under one umbrella. And so I set out to do it, kind of inspired from that kind of genesis, and so far it's just been a blast. And I think just a diverse range of influences on this as a writer, and I think it reflects a lot of things, even going back to my C.S. Lewis kind of influences, and on up to a lot of modern influences as well. So quite a few things.
And you talk about parallels. How do you see this series actually parallels to today's world?
I see quite a few things. I see a general trend toward the same path that's taking place in the Rising Dawn Saga as of today. Now, whether it takes the exact route that's in the book series is open to debate. But I definitely see the emerging technology kind of bringing about a one world order. And it's up to people to decide whether that's good or bad. But I tend to take the view that it opens up some very dangerous areas, and also am interested into what drives those kind of things, and what kind of steers the world in that kind of direction, where things become regional, and then then they become super regional, and then they become one system. And so I think if you look at the course of history, if you look at what's happening over the last even century, I think you can see the kind of parallels that you're talking about in relation to the book, and the dangers that may be ahead, and represented very, very vividly in the book series. But we'll see what happens. But it's pretty interesting, and it's definitely food for thought.
Last question. Why did you actually want to write this series?
I wanted to write this series a bit as a warning, and I wanted to at least get some ideas out there to get people talking about certain things, about especially about ideas of individual freedom and what that means in context of an increasingly technological world where your privacy is just increasingly eroded, to be quite frank, and more people know more about you, and companies are always taking data about you, and it's just like everywhere you look, you're being recorded, monitored, watched, and it's not so obvious sometimes, but if you really think about how things have trended, it's definitely going in that direction. And now they're talking about all kinds of things, what kind of problems may erupt when we have robots taking up a large portion of the workforce, and you have a huge number of people unemployed. What is that going to do in terms of social cohesion and all kinds of things? So I mean, yes, it's a fun, fantastical story, and I do invite readers just to enjoy it on the surface, as a very exciting story about people taking a stand and having great courage, and a story of many characters that grow very much over the course of the 7 books, and definitely of course working toward an epic scale confrontation on a cosmic level even, and so there's all those things, but underneath it I think there's a lot of things to give people something to actually think about, and and ask questions, and I think that's a very good and healthy thing in any kind of free society. So that's a big reason, that's a big part of why I wrote this series. So thank you very much. I guess that's the final question, and hope you enjoyed this little insight into the world of writing a cross-genre series, and some of the things that go into our thinking as authors when we do such a grand project as one of these kind of things. So take care, and I'll be seeing you soon on video.